Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So my wife's uncle came back with a COVID positive test today, and he is the perfect example for that Benjamin Franklin quote, the one where he goes, "Anyone willing to give up essential liberties for temporary safety deserve neither safety nor liberty." Because safety is a fucking illusion. There's no such thing as safety. And the best weapon anyone has is your fucking freedom, your liberties. So let me tell you the story of my wife's uncle, who I have a few fucking opinions about, which I'm not going to air publicly right now. But I have some opinions, don't fucking worry about that. So anyway, he's a doctor. When the first wave of COVID-19 hit India, he immediately shut down his practice. He shut it down completely, wasn't taking any patients, wasn't seeing anyone, went home and kept his practice shut for months and months and months and months. I think it's still shut actually. No, it's open I think, but he never goes in. He hasn't been into his practice for over a year. He just takes it online. So immediately he shut down his practice, pulled his kids out of school, fired all his maids and drivers and all that sort of shit. He's got money, this cunt. He's got a lot of fucking money. He didn't fucking earn it either. I'm not going to go into the details of that either because that's my wife's fucking family. I don't mind airing my dirty laundry, but I'll have to ask permission to air hers. Anyway, that's how rich cunts act, isn't it? They've got too much money and they don't want to lose it. They don't want to die with millions of dollars in the bank. Fair enough. I don't want to die with $58 in the bank either. So yeah, he shut down his practice, fired all his staff, took his kids out of school, and they didn't leave the house for like 8 or 9 months. They just stayed inside for 8 or 9 months with his wife homeschooling the 3 kids, cooking and cleaning and doing all the shit around the house. Anyway, him and his family left the house for the first time about 4 months ago because my sister-in-law and her fiance, the families were meeting. So there was a big dinner and he had to come. It was an obligation. So he left the house. Apparently he turned up with gloves. All the kids had gloves. The wife had gloves. He was wearing like a Chernobyl mask and sat away from everyone as well. It was fucking posturing because half the guests at that dinner were doctors as well. Real doctors, like hospital fucking doctors, not a GP. So anyway, after that dinner, they went back into lockdown, and the only other time they've left the house was to come and visit us when we first got here because we had the new daughter and all that sort of shit. Another obligation for him to come. So he turns up. Again, mask, gloves, fucking everything. The kids are wearing it, the wife's wearing it, he's wearing it. He walks in and I say g'day and go to shake his hand. And instead of shaking my hand, he does like the namaste thing. Doesn't shake my hand. And I didn't click at the time. I'm like, oh, this cunt didn't see me fucking put my hand out. So I left it out there and I fucking shoved it in his fucking chest. And he pulled back and did the namaste thing again. And I'm like, what? Oh, you're not touching anyone. Oh, the COVID-19 thing. And he gave me a head woggle and went into the lounge room, sat on the other side of the living room. And he has a son and his son's about my age, a year older. So they see each other and they're pretty friendly. So they go running around. His son never takes off his mask. My son is just a wild beast running around. Anyway, all the conversation is about COVID and all that bullshit. His kids are like fully autistic now because they haven't left the house and interacted with other human beings besides his parents for fucking over a year. He's weird. He's not even comfortable touching the couches or anything. Like the whole house is contaminated. Anyway, his kid and my kid start throwing the ball. They're throwing it back and forth. My kid sneezes and then throws the ball to this kid. This kid catches it and this fucking uncle made his kid fully sanitize, basically stripped him down and fully gurneyed him as though my kid is fucking contaminated. I just felt like walking over there, ripping off his fucking mask and just smashing him in the fucking face as hard as I could. Just fucking bounce his head off that brick wall. Yeah, you're worried about COVID, are you, cunt? You've got a bigger fucking problem than COVID. Fuck, I couldn't even hold a conversation for the rest of the time he was there because that's all I was fantasizing about. And I may have even thought to myself, I hope this cunt gets COVID. Like, not a bad strain, not the one that will kill him, but like one that will knock him around for a few weeks. All right, that makes me sound like a cunt, doesn't it? Okay, I'll tell you this. I wasn't going to tell you this, but I will. So the Indian government were giving doctors vaccines. For one of the vaccines, the condition on getting it was you had to give 50% of the vaccines to poor people. And he refused to get that vaccine into his practice because he said having all those poor people in his practice will make his elite clients uncomfortable. I shit you not, he said that in public. So anyway, after he left here, we haven't seen him since, but there's always information coming in. Apparently, he fully locked his compound up. He had it sprayed from the air, sanitized, completely sanitized his place. He dodgily got the Pfizer vaccine for him and his family. His daughters are like 16, 17, whatever the fuck they are. He's pretty young. I think he's like 48 or something. They shouldn't really be taking that vaccine. Anyway, they got it. And despite all of this, the Pfizer vaccine, not leaving the house in 14 months, getting rid of all his staff unpaid, just sent them back to the fucking village, keeping his kids inside all this time, not having any visitors, despite all this, closing down his practice, not seeing any patients, not getting the vaccines for his patients because of the poor people problem. Despite all this, today he got COVID-19. There is nowhere to run, baby. There is nowhere to hide. But anyway, he's got the Pfizer vaccine, and he said to me personally when I said, I don't think the vaccines work, and he's like, they do. And I'm like, well, everyone at my sister-in-law's hospital, which is his niece, but everyone at her hospital who got vaccinated is still getting fucking COVID-19. He's like, yes, but the symptoms are reduced. And I'm like, all right, is that the new pivot, is it? We know the vaccines don't work. Just tell them it reduces symptoms. So anyway, he'll be all right with his reduced symptoms. Some people just really fucking annoy me, and he's one of them. There's obviously more to his story than I'm telling you, but it's not my place to tell, is it? I think I told you enough already. All right, that is enough for tonight. I'll see you the fuck later.